with us now.
I just want to begin by saying my heart is full. There's times that I felt tears, and I'm holding back my tears because the message that I'm going to bring is just very relevant to all the hymns, the prayers, the scripture, everything you shared. I'm so grateful. My name's Jeanne Naponse. I'm from Wikwemikong, but my husband is from Tikmekshing. I've come to live here. It's been over 50 years that I've lived at Tikmekshing. And my husband and I have two sons. They now have their own families. Again, I'm grateful for my family, the family that we're raising, and now grandchildren. So it's very nice. My spirit name is Hummingbird, Nanongshkans. And our spirit names are really important because it connects us to nature. I'm very connected to that, to the hummingbird, and I always feel very blessed when I'm visited by one. When a hummingbird comes close to me, it reminds me of my connection to nature. And so our traditions are very important. What I wanted to talk about was when I was asked to give a title, I said, living in balance with nature. It's so important. And I was so pleased to hear all these teachings that you were sharing through your service this morning, because it's all related. It's all the same. And anyway, so I wanted to talk about the phases of the moon. So Anishinaabe people, we talk about 13 moons. And really, it's our blueprint, of how we need to prepare every day. When we look to the teachings that come with those, with each month. January is Minedo, Jesus. Minedo is spirit. Spirit moon is what we say when we talk about January. And it's really a time for us to, it's like nature itself forcing us to take a retreat, like less activity because it's so cold. The earth is covered with snow. So at that time, the earth, Mother Earth, is sleeping. She's covered with her white blanket. And so it's a time for us to reflect, to meditate, to pray, to think about your whole upcoming year and what you'll be working on and what you'll be doing. And so that's January. It's a quiet time. I enjoy it. It's time maybe to do crafts, to do things that, where you're sitting quietly at home. Maybe reading. You take, go and look for some books to read. In February, we call it Makwa Jesus, bear moon is what we call February. And the spirit of the bear is very strong, and it has so many good teachings for us. In my Anishinaabe, when I say makowatse, someone that's a protector. So the mother bear, in terms of how it protects its offspring, those little cubs, that's how we have to be with our children, with when you get to our age, I guess, as elders, we become grandmother to all. I feel that way with all the children at Tikmekshing or children I come across, at that age, we are a grandmother to all. I remember being at Gus's restaurant one morning. This young mother came in with two small children, and this little boy kept looking at me, and his hair was real curly. He was so cute. He said, "Hi, Grandma." And the mom was kind of embarrassed, and I said to her, "No, no, don't worry." I said, "This is precious." So that little boy, because children are so spiritual, so he recognized that in me, to say, "Hi, Grandma," and I said, "Hi." And I said, "I hope you have a good day," when in February, there'll be a time where there'll be icicles on the shrubs, and there'll be a mist that comes from the ground. And it's a really beautiful sight to see. Every year I look for that sign, when I get up around the second week of February. But that's when those cubs are born. And that's the breath of the mother bear and the breath of the cubs. That's what that sign. So we say chimkum nanagong is how we say it, and we wait for that sign. So then it's a time to do a little feasting plate. You could put it under the cedar tree, and you pray for the strength of those mother bears and the cubs. So that's what's significant for us in February. But it's also a time to get ready for the next month, which is Nabadingises in March. You're able to, early in the morning, you'll be able to walk on top of the snow. The crust will be so hard. That's when the sugar, the Sizabakadabo, the sap water will start to run. And so you start getting ready to tap the trees, the maple trees. And again, part of nature looking after us. That sap water, if you drink it every day, maybe you make tea and you have that tea, and maybe the maple sugar is going to run, the sap is going to run for 2 weeks, maybe 3 weeks. But it prepares our body for the weather in April and May, where it gets cold, warm, and so like the weather is a little bit unpredictable, but it builds our immune system. So that's medicine, one of the first medicines given to us in the springtime from Mother Earth. And always, I pray when my husband and I, before we tap the trees, I do it privately. I'll put sema, I'll make a little fire, and pray for a good season, but also to be thankful for that gift of sap water. So my husband and I have been doing this. We started in 2013 because the trees had been damaged, like through Valley, and it took a while for those trees to be healthy enough in order for us to be able to tap them. So it's nice to have that maple syrup and to have fresh pancakes, blueberry pancakes like this time of year. So that's in March. And then April, what happens in April, the water starts to recede, or the ice on the lakes, where we have our camp, and it was my father-in-law's hunting camp. So when the ice starts to recede, the pike will come to the shore to spawn. We know they're coming there to spawn, but if we take 1 or 2 fish, We use a canoe and you kind of gently paddle around. And so like maybe we'll take 2 fish and have a nice speed of fish. But we're also in the olden days very mindful to be respectful of life, wildlife. So if there were fish eggs, you would have to put those in the weed bed. So it was really important when you take fish to clean it right away, and if there are eggs, then you go back in the canoe and go and put them back where you got that fish. Um, that was, I know, a teaching that was passed on to my husband's family, like from his dad, that it's important to do that. And the other thing that happens is in English you say sucker fish, but we say mebne, mebne. But it's the first food for the bears, those mother bears, like that's their first food. And so like, it's good to see that, when you see Nemebne coming up in the rivers and streams, like, because that's food for the bears. And then when we get to May is a nice time. Wawaskone Jesus, blooming. That's when the flowers will bloom. So blooming moon is what we would say. But trillium, in our Anishinaabe, when we say wapshkabuni because it's white, the flower is white. But one of the special things about the trillium, when it blooms, it breaks the silence. In the spring, there's still silence, like you don't hear the loons, or you don't hear the frogs, there's really no sound, it's quiet. Like the end of March, maybe the first couple of weeks of April. And then, but once those trilliums come out and they're in full bloom, then it breaks the silence. So you're gonna hear nature, and it's gonna be loud. Those birds are gonna be singing. And, like you may see rabbits, like running along the road, like, so it's good to see that, because then all these animals have woken up and they're moving around. And then comes June. The first berry in June is demen, heartberry, strawberries. In English, we say strawberries. In Anishinaabe, when we say heartberry. And the same thing with strawberries, they prevent strokes. The heat that comes in July, it prepares your body, depending on how much your intake is. But one of the important teachings is that's the first teaching we'll have, how the next winter is going to be. If those berries are plentiful, like there's lots, it's the Creator giving us the food, but it's up to us to gather and to put it away. You won't find me walking around in the bush because I'm scared of snakes, but I need to bring somebody, I'll say, why don't we go picking strawberries, And because I know about that teaching, and I know what I have to do, to gift my family. And so at Christmas time, those are things you can give to, to your grandchildren. You make preserves, and you look for those old recipes that our grandparents had, like for doing preserving the berries. So that's how, if you ask a native person, are we going to have a long winter? They'd say, well, I'm not sure, but so-and-so says we have lots of berries, which means a long winter. We got to put lots of food away. And then the other thing that happens in June, my husband and I was trying to encourage him. I said, let's, do some of the things that are part of who we are as Anishinaabe people. let's gather the birch bark. And I knew there's only a certain time to harvest it. So he said, well, you're gonna have to find out. So I made a couple of calls to Wiki. There's an elder there that he's just like a book of knowledge. He knows everything. Anyway, so I contacted him and he said, Jeanne, he said, it's when the roses are in bloom, the wild roses. Once they're in bloom, that's when that birch bark is ready to be harvested without damaging the tree. Because he said, you'll just make a nice slit and you go and peel it off and it's just gonna come off like the birch bark. So like we do a lot of crafting with birch bark. I started a bit, but I'm certainly not an expert. But those are things that we need to teach our children. And we didn't use paper plates. We used birch bark, little containers or little, you make your own plates, And then sweetgrass. That's another, sweetgrass is ready to be harvested now. And really important, like it's, when we say in body, mind, so like body, mind, spirit, in your heart, we have to be strongly connected. Like a single strand of sweetgrass you can break, but once you start to bundle it and you start to braid it, you're praying at the same time as you're braiding it in body, mind, and spirit. We know how to take care of our body. We got to make sure we're dressed warm, dressed for the elements. The mind, like we'll meditate, right? Don't keep so many negative thoughts, like sort through, why am I feeling this way? Why am I angry? So that's part of taking care of your mind. And then your spirit, like coming here for me when I said my heart is full. Like I didn't realize how strongly connected I am with all of you. Like we share the same teachings. That's the first time I've experienced that. Like, and I've been to our Catholic church, but this one was special, and it'll be in my heart. So I haven't picked sweetgrass yet, but every time my husband would cut the lawn, and I've noticed this, but I've never, although I could smell sweetgrass after he cuts the grass, and I told him a few times, there's sweetgrass growing here someplace in our yard. And he says, oh yeah, okay. I don't know where it would be. He said, but like how do you tell? How are you going to look for it? But I found it. I found a patch. So I told him, you're not going to cut grass here anymore. I'm going to put a fence. I'm going to fence this off. Because the sweetgrass, like you'll see people having a braid of sweetgrass, but it's like really dried. But I was told you only keep that 1 year. So you go from year to year. If you have old braid of sweetgrass, you should actually bring it to a sacred fire, put it there and burn it. And then you get a new one for your home. So it's Mother Earth's hair. We say wing gush. Gush is mother, and wing, the first part, is hair. It's Mother Earth's hair. And so if you, maybe someone passes away, there's crying, there's, people going through hurt, then it's time to bring that sweetgrass. Then you would burn a tip of it and you smudge, and you're praying at the same time. For you to be renewed, for you to be strongly connected again in body, mind, and spirit, like to pull yourself together as one. When you're loosely connected in body, mind, and spirit, that's when you can get sick. That's when sickness, like, COVID, all this kind of stuff that's out there, or depression, like, so these medicines are important. So that's in, like, I told my husband, no more cutting grass here. That's where it is. But it's only that long. Like, you go to Garden River First Nation towards the Sioux, theirs would be this high from the floor. Really nice. That's where you can get a nice braid of sweetgrass. Sage is another medicine for us. Sage now too, because we're in August, the same with sweetgrass. Now is the time to harvest sage. I recently learned that mosquitoes don't like sage. So you could actually burn it on your sun deck, and it'll ward off the mosquitoes. So that's, and in August, okay, July is Meenegeesis, blueberry moon is July. And again, so we'd be picking, the fruits from Mother Earth, like put the berries away. So we have them for winter. And then in August, Minomen geesis, wild rice. Wild rice used to grow here, and it's a non-perishable food. Now, with our families, like, I go to the bulk barn to buy it. But when I was teaching at Cambrian, there was a young man that was there for 3 years studying in one of the programs. He would supply me with wild rice from Lake of the Woods, and really nice wild rice. We have a young couple at Tikmekshing that's trying to bring it back, trying to replant the wild rice. Some of it came up, but I don't know how long it takes to regenerate, once you seed an area. So, and then September, the leaves start to change color. But it's corn, Indian corn. There's so many types of corn, but Indian corn, it's white, sort of yellowish white, it's not like sweet corn, it's different. And the same thing, the non-perishable food, we put it away. I have some at my home, and I've been keeping it because I want to plant it. But our season isn't long enough here. But we used to have it on Manitoulin. My grandma would always prep the Indian corn, and she would can it, because you have to boil it in, you use hardwood ash, so you boiled it about 3 times. It goes through, it's like an all-day event to do that. Then you rinse and rinse and rinse 3 times, I think, before it gets put into jars and put away safely. So, and then when we get into October, Banakwegisis, when the leaves are falling, the men, the hunters will get ready. We used to know the migration routes of moose, deer. Maybe not so much anymore. So much has changed. So our time's almost up. I don't want to go over. Yeah, and then the other thing about October is there's another fruit that's sort of late to harvest, and that's cranberries. Yeah, I don't know how many of you pick cranberries. They're in the water. You'll see a nice red color. So there's a couple of places at Panache where my nephew won't show me the spot. He'll right away say, "I'll get it for you, Auntie. I'll get you a basket." I said, "Okay." So each time I say, "Now, if I wanted to pick it myself, so where do you go for this?" He says, don't worry, I'll get you a basket. So because they're scarce now, eh? And so it's the same thing. People don't want to give away their secret spots because they they don't want the cranberries to be overpicked. We do have an area at Round Lake. My husband said he'll take me because I told him I need to make the cranberry sauce and I want to make it for Thanksgiving, but I also want to make it for Christmas and Easter. You know, those are the other times. I have to make sure I have enough and maybe extra to give to friends and family. My kids really like my cranberry sauce, so like I've been making it, but I buy the cranberries from the store, but you can't always get them. So that's in October. So then we get into November where the ground starts to freeze. Jesus. So things start to freeze. And again, we prepare for winter. Some of us will be thinking about our heat source, you know, like maybe you supplement your heat through wood, you know, so like you're doing those kinds of things. My husband needs to go to the sugar bush and cut the underbrush and then cut those pieces into small pieces, let it dry so that we could use it sugar bush season. And it is a good time in November to be able to do that, you know, like, and again, short window of opportunity. My grandson used to snare rabbits, so he'd be looking forward to fresh snowfall, you know, so that he could track the rabbits. And then in December, we call December Mennonite Aug, like small spirit moon. So in January is full Mennonite Aug, and December is little spirit moon. So you're getting ready to hibernate. Like we hibernate like the bear, right? And so we do those things. And anyway, so that's how much I wanted to share, but there's a lot more. But I think the idea is, when I was in Lively, we talked about reconciliation. How do we do that? Like truth and reconciliation. For me, this is reconciliation. For me to be able to pick up my Anishinaabe, to start using it again, to start using my Anishinaabe proudly. I've always said our culture is in the language. So that Anishinaabe has to be restored. And that's why I was trying to share, like I'm not making up these terminologies when I'm saying Mennonite. And when we say the creator, we say Jeanne Naponse, the great spirit, Jeanne Naponse. And the great spirit is beyond the sun, beyond the sun. The sun is the eye of the creator. And that's why we pray at sunrise, high noon, and at sunset. Those are the times to pray to the creator, to Jeanne Naponse, the great spirit. So I'll leave you with that for now, and I'm just so happy. I'm happy. Get your nandam. My heart is full.